All right, all right. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today to talk about the 7 decisions every practice must make before January 31st. And that's right, that's 10 days away. So, tick tock, right? So, hopefully, as we go through this exhaustive list, you'll have noticed that, well, maybe you've got at least some, most, maybe all accounted for. But if not, now's the time to giddy up, right? So, you have as host today myself, and for those that don't know, my name is Chad Foster. I'm the VP of Partnerships here at Foster Consulting, and joining me is our my illustrious co-host and social influence force of nature herself,
Mhm.
Julicia JB Beasley. How are you, JB?
I'm well, Chad. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so JB,
Yes.
I've inquiring minds want to know. Last
Okay.
week, last week, I know you went on Amazon to order a chicken and an egg. Do we know which
Correct.
yet came first?
The chicken.
The chicken.
The
All
chicken.
right, all right, it's settled. The chicken came before the egg. Now we know. Thank you, JB. All right, shall we talk about your Amazon buying habits, or shall we get into the presentation?
I don't think they want to hear that one. I'll
I,
spare them.
some of them might. Some of them might. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Okay.
Why don't you, JBs, tell us about the first decision that's probably the most, well, actually, now we're going to get into that. So, all right, tell us what we learned in 2025.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. So before we get into the discussion of what we need to look into to fix for 2026, I want us to take some time to take a look into problem areas of what held practices back in 2025. So we analyzed data from hundreds of practices, and we found 9 specific roadblocks that kept practices stuck or what they felt was the most challenging. So I want us to walk through this list. And as we go through this list, please feel free to take a mental note to see if you identified with any of these specific areas or or all of these specific areas. Now, the first problem
Hopefully,
area
not
that
all of them, though, right? Hopefully, not
hopefully not
all of
all,
them.
hopefully not all. But the first one I would like to go over is the websites, and it's simply websites that don't convert visitors into clients or patients. Now, this is the most common one because you might see traffic numbers going up in your reports, but the phone isn't ringing. So if you have traffic but no calls, you don't necessarily have a marketing problem, you have a trust validation problem. So you're paying for viewers, but you're losing the confirmation. The next problem area that we identified that
Hey,
held
JB,
practices
so
back,
so just hey, so
yeah,
let me just make sure. Are you
yeah,
saying that websites are important? Is that what you're saying?
websites are very much a focal point in success
Interesting. But
for the
all websites are the
practice.
same, right? Like, I can just get a Weebly or Wix or Squarespace or WordPress off the street like a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, right? All the same?
Chad, you know what? I'll defer that back to you. You know that answer best than me.
You know that I do. Please continue.
Course. So now we move along to the next problem area that we identified is dated or disconnected content. Now, this is usually the culprit. If a prospect lands on your website and sees a blog post from 2015 or a team photo with people who no longer work in your firm or your practice, they immediately disconnect. And they assume, well, if their website is neglected, their practice is too. So that's something that is very much a priority to keep in mind. We also identified inconsistent lead flow as a challenge that most practices struggled with in 2025. And we call this the roller coaster. So, for an example, you may have experience where your January comes about and your lead generation is amazing. And then February comes about and your lead generation is dead, it plateaus. So, that is when you experience now you're panicking. And that's when usually stress forms. And it's a recipe for disaster. And then we also identify lack of pipeline diversification. So with this, if you are relying 100% on referrals, or 100% on Google Ads, just being very transparent with you all today, you are vulnerable. So you need multiple engines running. So one slows down, the other carries the load. And it'll alleviate you from feeling that sense of panic and stress.
So a diversified portfolio is advised. Is that what you're telling us?
That is exactly right, Chad. A diversified portfolio.
Outstanding, outstanding.
Yes. Now, Chad, when we take a look at operations, we love to identify the internal friction. And a problem area that we identified within that is wrong people, wrong chairs. Now, this one might be a painful one to admit. You might have a nice person at the front desk, but if they hate empathy, they are killing your conversion rate. And also, you cannot grow if you have right people in wrong seats. So we have to be sure we have the right people in the right seats and making sure that person we have taking that initial call has the training and able to overcome objections and also maintain that empathy to connect with that prospect. And we discovered when it comes to innovative tools and processes, um, I like to make, light jokes of where we are today. We're in an AI driven world. And you would be amazed. Some people, probably Chad, is still using sticky notes for their
Hey,
everyday usage.
why you
So
hate these are officially licensed sticky notes, Jalicia. Why you
I,
hating on my stickies?
whatever works for you, whatever works for you.
Okay, okay.
But honestly, if your intake involves manually writing things down and transferring them later, you guys, you're literally burning time that your competitors are using to steal your leads. And if we take a step back and look and review the leadership, that's where we identify shareholders more reactive than proactive. So let's take a step back. If we think about 2025, where do you feel, do you feel that you spent most of your 2025 planning your growth, or did you spend it putting out fires? And then ask yourself, if you're constantly in reaction mode, are you growing because you're not leading? So that's just something to think about.
Okay. So indecision is still a decision, not to decide, right?
That is right. And
Okay.
that's where it leads us to, Chad, could you go back for me one moment? I'm
Sure.
sorry. It leads us to the disregard of data. Now, this tends to happen when we make decisions based on gut feeling or what we've always done instead of looking at the numbers. And when it comes to data, you all, data does not lie. But we often ignore it because we don't usually like what the data says. But we need that transparent moment in order to know where we're going. And then, of course, final and definitely not least, we identify indecision, as Chad just touched on. This is the ultimate growth killer. So, this is when you're waiting for the perfect time or that perfect hire. And we see so many practices freeze up. And while they wait, the market continues to move on without them. So, indecision is making a decision not to do anything, which ultimately hurts your practice in the long run.
All right.
So I want to take a pulse check right now. Based on these 9 specific roadblocks we just discovered, if you could in the chat, if you'd like to share your response, which one do you feel caused you the most stress last year? And you can just share it in the chat.
And Jessica put a nice put a poll up here for, shout out to Jessica Tavares, who's our
Yes.
our secret ninja working behind the scenes for the poll and some follow-up stuff. But anyway, yeah, thank you, JB. And so,
Yeah.
all right, so what's the good news? The good news is that
Yeah,
2026 is a brand new year. Clean
exactly.
slate to start anew like a fresh baby, right? So here's your opportunity. But with this opportunity, you need to be critical and really objectively critical of everything. That's the key part in identifying your areas of opportunity is to be truly objective in your analysis. That means in your processes, in your people, and yes, even yourselves. right? Even yourselves. So it's gut check time, guys. Your future selves are counting on you. Do you want to let them down? I don't want to let my future self down. JB,
Yeah,
you want to let your future self down?
definitely not.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
No.
So why don't you tell us about the first, if not the most important decision that needs to be made, should be made, has to be made in the next 10 days?
Definitely, Chad, as you shared, this is the critical point. So this brings us to decision number one. And honestly, you all, if you get this wrong, none of the other six decisions matter. Know your 2026 revenue goals. Now, we've identified when it comes to practices, most practices are not experiencing a revenue problem. They're dealing with a clarity problem. So you've probably picked a number saying, I want to make 5 million in annual revenue for 2026, but you haven't connected it to your reality. So to fix this, you have to answer three essential questions before you spend a dime on marketing. So that first question you should ask yourself, how much do we want to grow? Is that more volume pro, or does it go to a high case value or high patient value level? The next question is what case types or patient services will drive that growth? And then third, what marketing systems do we need to support it? And remember, goal setting without operational alignment is just wishful thinking. So as you think about this, don't just give yourself a revenue number. Think of a plan. Give us a plan that fits the life that you actually want to live. And
Yeah.
that what leads into decision number two.
Yeah, plan your work. Plan your work,
Yeah.
work your plan. That feels like something that might come back here in a minute. But first, decision number two is audit your website. I mean, the obvious sometimes, just it's the obvious ones. So what does this mean? It means again critical, objective analysis. But what I'm also saying is, yes, you need to look at your website top to bottom, but don't just run one report. Use different reports. Use different tools. Look at different vantage points, different lenses to look through. Because if you just rely on one single source, you do not have complete data. So come at it from different angles, run the test, and then what are the common denominators? And then what are the priorities? What are the issues that keep coming up? And that's how you prioritize and work your way backwards from there. So collect the data and then OODA loop, which is observe, orient, decide, act. Then rinse and repeat until you're just humming. All right? That's an easy one, guys. And the things on the slides here are some of the particulars: page speed, design, usability, messaging, avatar, video integration, conversion, multiple engagement points, just dummy proof the user experience. So it's from the outside in and the inside out. Okay? I can spend probably a good hour on just this alone if you want. JB, should I just take the next hour and just talk about websites?
As tempting as that sounds, Chad, I think we need to be sensitive to their time.
Why wasn't that convincing? Why wasn't that very convincing? All right. So what is this third decision, JB?
So, decision number three is critical because the game changed completely in 2025. Refresh content for Google's AI driven search. We saw a massive flood of AI generated content hit the internet, and Google panicked. They cracked down hard. So, if you're a lawyer or a doctor, you are at this time, you are under the strictest scrutiny from Google, and it's called EEAT, which is experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. If your content looks thin or robotic, you just don't lose rankings. You actually lose the client or the patient. So here is exactly how you can fix that problem point by point. So the first point is update core pages. Now, this isn't just about changing a headline. It's about accuracy. So if your bio says over 10 years of experience, but you wrote that 5 years ago, you actually have 15 years. And if you do not update your content, you are completely selling yourself short. because Google wants to see active management, not a digital museum. The second point is add more video.
I love that, by
This
the
will,
way, that hey, I love the digital museum. It just,
yeah,
I think of Robin Williams in like Night at the Museum and but just like prehistoric, archaic, shag carpets, just, just
all of his great work.
old, right? It's just not,
Yeah.
it's not modern, right? So
Mhm.
there's wallpaper on the walls, right? Don't do that. All right,
Yeah,
please continue.
of course. Now, the add more video, this is my favorite one because text is for Google, such as SEO, but video is for the human engagement. So, video builds trust validation faster than any other media. So, if a patient or a client is in a state right now where they're trying to choose between two attorneys or two doctors, and one attorney or doctor has a video explaining their service or procedure with empathy, and the other is just a wall of text, the video will win every time. The third point is modernize FAQs. Most FAQ pages are graveyards of questions from 2015. And now people are asking questions in a different format. They're asking about cost, recovery times, and specific outcomes. So your best practice is answer the questions your front desk actually hears today in simple, clear language. And then the fourth point is remove outdated language. We actually call this the purge. You need to eliminate references to staff members who left 2 years ago or old dates like copyright 2015 in your footer. And honestly, if you have a generic blog post that sounds like a robot wrote it, just delete it. Thin content drags the validation of your entire website down. The fifth point is add real examples. Again, we live in an AI world, but now real is considered the new gold, the primary value. You need actual case studies and patient stories. AI can fake a blog post, but it cannot fake a specific trial result or before and after photo of a patient you help. And that is your competitive advantage. And then point six, strengthen internal linking. Now, may sound technical, but it's all about the user journey. Don't allow this to visit your website and hit a dead end. If they read about divorce law or shockwave therapy, link them immediately to a child custody case or a shockwave therapy case result. Keep them on your website longer. We call this the Netflix effect. You want to put out binge worthy content, which signals to Google that you are an authority and not just an expert.
So what I'm hearing, JB, is that always be evaluating the efficacy of your content. Are there low quality or low
Correct.
traffic driving pages that are just dragging you down? Why? Is it because they're dated, because they're obsolete, or
Yeah.
they're not on brand? Why? And then can and should they be repurposed, updated, or just purged altogether? And I remember seeing those documentaries a few years back on the purges. That was a very
Yeah.
different topic, right?
Yes.
Um, FAQs, avatar focused, right? So,
Mhm.
who are you trying to attract? Are you talking in the way that they talk, think, act, ask, want, need, hurt, right? And then the Netflix affect effect. Did we decide which one is it? Whatever it
I
is,
don't
right?
know. Yeah.
It's the effect because it's absolute instead of the affect influence, right? So it's
Yeah.
causing effect. So it's got to be that. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong.
Let
Um,
us know.
that's right. But ultimately, what we're saying is, as far as applies to the website and the marketing, is it needs to be a seamless user experience until to
Yeah.
drive the behavior that you want, which is I'm going to answer this question, any subsequent follow-up questions, and then I want them to call me. I want them to contact. I want them to fill out a form. I want them to download. I want them to chat. I want them to send up smoke signals, right? Convert in some way, shape, or form, but that's the behavior that we are trying to drive. Is that
Yeah.
did I get it, JB?
You spot on.
Okay.
Spot on.
Awesome. So for anyone that is uncertain about their AEO, that is answer engine optimization, then you can grab this. I'll hold this up for just a few seconds, a little bit longer, and I think probably Jessica's going to put this in here too. Of course she is, because she's awesome. But there's a QR code on the screen if you want to grab it, and we'll send you a checklist, and you could do it on your own. You want us to do it for you with you? We can do that too. But this one is just to send you the checklist. All right, everybody good on this? 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, moving on. So, one of my favorite quotes is plan your work, then work your plan. Now, I have seen this attributed to Napoleon Hill, BC Forbes, Margaret Thatcher, even Coach Marv Levy for you old Bills fans. But for me, it was a guy by the name of Gary Gallagher, who was my boss back in my old hospitality days at Ruby Tuesday restaurants. And I mean, he used it often, and it became a mantra for him, for the company, the business, and for a lot of us who respected what he was doing and how he was doing it. And 20 plus years later, it's still bouncing around in this noodle, and I still think about it daily. So that's really what we need to do. So decision number 4 is plan the work before we can go work the plan, and that is build your SEO and AEO roadmap. All right, your practice areas and your homepage, your skeletal pages. Right, I call them skeletal pages because once they're set up, you're really not messing with them, but it's what everything else is then built around. Right. So it doesn't mean you can't tweak and you shouldn't tweak, but really those are kind of your stalwarts, right? So those skeletal pages, your local SEO, which is your NAP, right? Name, address, and phone number. And listen, a lot of the stuff on this particular slide should be a given, but just because it's a given, we still gotta practice the blocking and tackling. We still gotta rep the X's and O's because they are fundamental. We can't do the bigger things unless we have the smaller things set up and tight. So the NAP, name, address, and phone number. If your street address is Avenue, then and it says Avenue on your website, then it need to spell out Avenue on your GMB, and Avenue on your Facebook, and Avenue on your Avo or Healthgrades profile, not AVE here or AVE period there, and those inconsistencies. And the more those inconsistencies or yellow flags you have, well, the more Google kind of penalizes you, don't they? And so it really hinders your ability to rank number one in that local pack, which is so, so, so important. So maybe you go to 2 instead of 1. Maybe it's 3. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's 10, right? Hoffa's buried at 10. So you don't want to do that, right? It's such a simple thing. I say it's a simple thing. They're tools. Work smart, not hard. That will help kind of manage it and kind of come at it. There isn't a single tool that does them all. And if you try to manually maintain your NAP, it is just an exercise in futility. So work smart, work hard, but it is absolutely a priority. Monthly content, Jalicia started talking about that. That's your gas. That's your gas in the car. And you can have this beautiful Ferrari sitting in your driveway, but if you don't put gas in it, it looks pretty in your driveway, but only seen by friends and family who are coming by anyway. Otherwise, you're not showing around town. You're not going on any road trips. You're not seeing anyone who wasn't already going to find you. So you got blogs, articles, and FAQs. Those are your traction content mediums. Testimonials, case results, case studies, before and after, success stories, different way to frame those. Those are more the conversion content mediums. And then videos, as we've said, and we'll say it again, videos are this perfect hybrid between attraction and conversion. They can attract by virtue of the content and information in the videos, right? As well as convert because now they see you, now they trust you, they like you, hopefully, right? And you've proven you can help them. And they're more likely to go than convert. Call, contact, download, book, convert, right? Think of the celebrity factor. All right, Jalicia, I got to think. I was thinking about this last night because,
Okay.
like if you saw, all right, well, no, he's a bad example, right? How about Timothy
Mm,
Chalamet, right? Do you know who Timothy Chalamet is?
Put me on the spot,
I
Chad. I
should.
have
I told
no
you I would.
clue.
I told you I would. All right, Timothy Chalamet. He's a young, up and coming actor. He's,
Okay.
anyway. All right. So if you saw him on the street, I was gonna go with Brad Pitt, but like I thought that
You
was
should have
shooting too
started
far.
with that one.
All right,
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
You seen
Hmm.
it? Let's go with Brad Pitt. If you see Brad
Okay.
Pitt walking down the street, like, hey, it's Brad Pitt, right? Cool. I feel safe. I feel connected because I've seen so many movies of his. I kind of have a sense of who he is. He doesn't
Yeah.
know me from Adam, right? But
Right.
but there's that connection. That's a celebrity factor. Videos on YouTube, videos on your website create a celebrity factor and a kind of an inherent connection to your client, prospective client, patient, prospective patient. So it's just a lot of reasons to do it. And it doesn't have to be major production where you're spending 15, 20, 25 grand on a video shoot. No, you can do it on your iPhone, right? Now,
Mhm.
within reason, right? Don't do it next to a rolling train on a windy day where you can't hear anything. But, the point is there's ways to really kind of do that on a budget. There's ways to really kind of go whole hog and everywhere in between. But video, 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 very important. Social media, right? It's pushing information out, pulling people in, staying top of mind. Same thing with building out your lists, leveraging your database, reminding people who you are, where you are, what you do, how you do it. And oh, by the way, don't forget to tell all your friends, right? So it's the technical health of the website. How is it performing? Again, page speed, responsiveness, indexing, 301s, 404s, right? What about a marketing calendar? Do you have a marketing calendar in place? If you don't, you should. Do you have an idea board in place? If you don't, you should. These are tools. These are tools to work smart, not hard, and make your lives easier, make everybody's lives easier. It's a whole lot better to sit down on a Monday morning. All right, what are we going to market about? It's a whole lot easier if you already have the jigsaw puzzle marketing calendar mostly in place and an idea board with 20, 30, 50, 100 ideas to pull from and kind of plug in and really work from that, right? So get in the practice of those particular things. Plan your work your plan. The next thing we're going to talk about, which is really complementary to all of that, is conversion marketing and remarketing or retargeting, whatever you want to call it, right? But PPC, hey, listen, and no doubt there are pros and cons to PPC, but in today's market, today's world, it's really best to have say it with me, JB, diversified
Marketing
portfolio. That's
portfolio.
right. That's right. A diversified portfolio. Thank you for playing. All
Of
right. So
course.
PPC. Yes. Yes. I know. It can get really expensive really fast, especially if you don't know what you're doing, right? It takes a ramp up time to kind of get the campaigns to learn. But once they do, then you can start collecting data, generating leads. Are they good leads? Are they bad leads? What does the data say? What's your intake process look like? Is your intake team giving feedback on the specifics of what makes it a good lead or a bad lead? Are you spending enough to be competitive in your market for those particular practice areas or those types of patients, cases, services, laser, right? Are you maxing out your spend but getting diminished returns, right? We've got a client who's defiantly maxing out their spend, even though we have clearly pointed out they're past the point of diminished returns, right? Hey, you guys know not every patient, right, is going to listen to you. Not every client is going to listen to you, but we do the best we can, right? You got to look at all those PPC checkpoints, though. Are they clean? Are they efficient? Are there any bottlenecks or issues? So, what does the ad look and feel like? What's the messaging, right? What's the expectation if they click on that ad or that message? Where does it go? Does it go to just the homepage like everything else? Does it go to a practice area page? Does it go to a specific landing page for that campaign or ad? Does it go to off-site with some random splash page? So where is it going? What's it say when it gets there? Is the page set up for that particular traffic, that visitor, that information, or is it just kind of lumped in with everything else and you're just kind of like, all right, we're going to throw everything in one bucket and figure it out later, right? Are the pages long form or are they short form? What's the call to action, right? What's the behavior you're then trying to drive? You've done all this work, because PPC, it's traffic. It's not a client. It's not a case. It's a visitor on your website. That's what you're paying for. So the website darn sure better work from there, right? All right. So are you driving the right behavior, the behavior that you are trying to create? Are you tracking and measuring? Are you split testing or A/B testing? Same thing, right? All those checkpoints. Yes, there's a lot of ways that PPC can go wrong, but if you're paying attention to all the checkpoints and all the stops, it can really be a smooth, really, really strong positive ROI. But ultimately, it's about a complementary piece to your overall marketing strategy, right? So, and retargeting real quick. I know I'm going on and on about this, JB, but I love this stuff.
You're good.
Retargeting is it's a bit of a different animal. It's for folks that are going to your website already. They've been there. Now you're attaching a little cookie and you're going, hey, I'm going to follow you around for a while. Okay. I'm going to put my ad everywhere you go so you see me and my brand. Cool. Which is great. Which is great. It reinforces your brand. It reinforces your message. It expedites the know, like, trust sequence. And it also gives them a quick link back to you and your business, your practice, your firm, whatever. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do is bring them back, stay top of mind. So the key takeaway for all of the things that we just covered over the last, oh gosh, however long I've been rambling, is, say it one more time with me, JB, diversified
By your marketing
portfolio.
portfolio.
Yes, thank you, thank you. All right, so I will go ahead and take a breath, JB, and share with us, if you please, the
Of
last two
course.
decisions that need to be made.
Yes. So now we've come to decision number 6. This is strengthen your intake and follow-up systems. So Chad just shared how to get the phone ringing. But now I need to talk about why you might be losing those people on the other end of the line. If your intake flow lacks strategy, then your intake can result as the silent killer of your revenue. We see this all the time. A practice spends 5,000 or 10,000 a month on ads. The phone rings and then it goes to voicemail. Or worse, someone answers who is stressed out or rushing and treats the potential client or case like an interruption. So if you want to fix your revenue in 2026, you have to stop treating intake like answering the phone and start treating it like sales. And here's how we fix the 5 biggest leaks. The first is designate responsibility. This is the who. Take a step back when you think about your current operations and who's running what. Is the person answering your new lead calls also the person checking out patients or qualifying clients, filing charts and paperwork, and handling billing all at the same time? If so, you are setting them up to fail. So you need a designated intake champion whose only job is to roll out the red carpet for new business. The second biggest leak is speed to lead. This is the win. Now, this is purely mathematical. If you miss a call, what happens? Statistics show that if you miss a call, the likelihood of you being able to re-engage or get a call back or get a response back from that lead drops 10 times. So if you're waiting 20 minutes to call back, then your lead has already hired your competitor. And in 2026, if you don't answer live, it's crucial that you must have an automated text going out within the first 20 to 30 seconds. The third is automate follow up. This is what we call the safety net. Humans forget, robots don't, if they're programmed correctly.
Hmm.
You need a system that automatically chases the leads who did not book. So if you're just relying on a sticky note, that I know Chad loves, but if you are relying on a sticky note that says call Mrs. Jones back, you have already lost Mrs. Jones.
I'm writing that down on my sticky
Okay.
note. Call Mrs. Jones.
And then the fourth is empathy and connection. Now, this one, AI cannot do for you. In law and in medicine, your prospects are usually in pain or in trouble. At that moment, they're scared. They need someone that can provide a resolution to their problem, to their worry. So your intake team needs to be trained to be first responders, not just receptionists. They need to say, I hear you. I know that's hard. We can help before they ask for an insurance card or they're delving right into determining if that person can afford your retainer fee. The fifth is tight scheduling. This is the close. It's when you finally get them. Don't let them get off the phone with, I'll check my calendar or we'll follow up shortly. Your team needs strict protocols and clear call to actions to get a commitment now. So, bottom line, when it comes to this fixing your intake flow, it stops the leaking bucket. And by fixing your intake flow for best results, increases your results of driving your revenue with the leads you already have in your pipeline. So the now, which moves us into decision number 7, which is perhaps the most challenging if you're not sure where to start. And that is deciding who is leading your 2026 marketing. I will give you all a spoiler right now, and I'll hold your hand tightly when I say this. It shouldn't be you. It
What?
should not be you.
What?
Okay?
What?
Yes. And I'll explain why. Whether you're an attorney or a doctor, your primary value is your expertise and your knowledge. Your job is to continue being the visionary and the top tier practitioner, not to spend your Tuesday nights or Sunday afternoons fixing a broken landing page or writing SEO driven blog posts. One of the biggest reasons we see successful practices stall out is because the managing partner or the owner of the practice is doing too much and delegating too little. You've hit a ceiling because you've become the bottleneck. So by January 31st, you need a definitive answer on who is steering this ship. In order to be successful, whoever you put in charge must own these 3 plans of actions. One is strategic planning. This is where a marketing strategist would build a complete 2026 roadmap with clear timelines and no more random acts of marketing. We're creating the pieces of the full engine, the multiple engines for you. Next is execution management. This is where a fractional chief marketing officer, which we call a fractional CMO, a high level strategist who guides the entire machine without the cost of a full time executive salary. So this person oversees the moving pieces, content, SEO, ads, so you don't have to. And then results and accountability. This is where we track what matters and report back to you monthly with data driven improvements. So, as you think about this, if you do not have a clear leader running your strategy, you simply do not have a strategy. You have a hobby. So, let's make sure 2026 is the year you professionalize your growth. So, if you're sitting here thinking, well, I don't have time to build this plan, JB, or I don't have a person to lead this is exactly one of the reasons Chad and I are here today.
That's right. That's right. So, let's kind of recap what we covered over the last 30, 40 minutes or so. And this is about, 2026 belonging to those who prepare now. So, what did we talk about? We talked about entering this year with clarity, right? We talked about looking at processes and systems. We talked about fixing bottlenecks, identifying objective analysis, identifying bottlenecks, and fixing them. And then investing in the visibility, investing in the infrastructure, investing in the right people in the right chairs, doing the right things with a plan, not just we'll figure it out, right? Proactive instead of reactive. Now, if you don't have this in place, well, then we can help you with that. But let's recap the 7 decisions, right? Number 1, you can say them out loud, or you can say them out. Hi, Alaska. Nice to see you. All right. I don't actually see you right now. I just saw that you typed in there. But hey, know your 2026 revenue goals. That is number one with a bullet. Audit your website and your overall web presence. Refresh your content for AI driven search. Build your roadmap. Set up your conversion, advertising, and retargeting. Make sure it's working properly. Strengthen your intake and follow up systems, and then decide who's going to manage it all and who's going to lead it all, and put the right people in places to do so. So if you can do that on your own, awesome. Do it. Go do it. What are you waiting for? Right? Get up, go. Grab Gatorade and let's rock. If, however, if you want some help, well, good news is we are here, as JB said. So there's a QR code in here. I'm sure Jessica's going to add something here in the chat as well. But we can schedule time and just bring some of these answers to the table, and we will help shape this. Hey, listen, no cost, just just kind of hey, good form, if you will, right? Good faith. We will help
Right.
you kind of identify these areas and work with you. And if it's something, if you're a foster client already, we should already be doing this with you, right? If you're not, well, what are you waiting for? But we can help you either way. So grab those QR codes. And JB, did we miss anything today?
Outside of my Amazon wish list, I don't think so. I think that was it.
Okay. What's the typical cost? I
Typical
see
cost
a note
practice.
from Christina. What's the typical cost to the practice or the practitioner? Uh, can you be more specific? Cost of what? Are we okay on time? Yeah, we're good on time.
Yeah, we're good.
For a full evaluation and build the perfect practice. Okay, so there's two answers to that. Thank you, Christina. Full evaluation, that's something we'll just do. We'll just do with you. Okay, no cost to that. Building the
Yes.
perfect practice. Hey, it depends. Don't we always love that answer? It depends, right? If you're a solo, small market, that's the answer to that. That perfect practice is going to be different than if there are 10 attorneys in multiple states doing multiple things, right? So, but like I said, we can work it up and kind of talk through it with you. And website update cost, again, it depends. Do you have 5 pages or do you have 5,000 pages? Are the 5 pages great, or the 5,000 pages need to be rewritten? Right? Do you have videos? Do you have SEO? There's just a winding range, but Christina, I promise it's something that we can work on with you and kind of give you a fair answer, and you can decide
Um,
what you want from there. But 15-year-old website on GoDaddy. All right, send us the. Okay, hey,
Okay.
Christina, we definitely need to be
Christina, we
talking.
can evaluate. We
Yeah.
can set some time to evaluate, run an analysis, and then, speaking with you, if you could just share, your immediate needs or goals and your long-term goals, we'll be able to, discuss next steps. What's the
Yep.
best fit for
So,
you at this time?
JB, so we can do it a couple of different ways. Christina,
Yeah.
if you want to grab the QR code and schedule it,
Hmm.
JB, what email can they, if they have got questions, do you want to send them to?
Yeah. If you all have questions, Jessica, I'll drop oh, perfect. Jessica
Excellent.
provided the email in the chat if anyone needs it. So you have
Yep.
my personal email. And if you have any questions, if say, hey, I don't know where to start, that's okay. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Okay, so thank you everyone, and the last thing we'll say is stay tuned or check back next month when we will talk about, huh? Did I tease it or what? I teased
You
it,
did.
right? Website and conversion design in 2026, how to stand out in an AI driven world. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. I hope
It
you all
is.
had fun today. I hope you learned a few things,
Yes.
and just know we're here to help however we can. So, JB, thank you for joining me. Thank you all for attending, and Happy New Year. See you next month.